From Tufts University Studios in Boston, it's the Global Desk with Peter Loud.
Welcome back to the Global Desk. I'm your host, Peter Loud. It's been a hectic week in the news. We had a major celebrity breakup, the Epstein files might finally be released, and Trump took another shot at America by inviting the Saudi crown prince, the very same one who allegedly ordered the killing and dismemberment of an American journalist in 2018. Let's get into it. Marjorie Taylor Greene and Donald J. Trump, the two blonde hotheads in government. After years of being very close allies, they have finally had a falling out. Greene recently split with Trump over several issues, especially her effort to release all DOJ files relating to Jeffrey Epstein, which Trump has obviously long opposed. Trump has publicly withdrawn his endorsement of Greene, calling her a ranting lunatic and suggesting he may support a primary challenger in her district for the next election. He also criticized her on social media, calling her a traitor and even giving her a nickname, Marjorie Taylor Brown. Greene strongly responded, saying she never owed Trump anything. She says she helped elect him, but always followed her own beliefs. She claimed that Trump's words have led to threats against her safety and that private security firms warned her after what she calls a coordinated campaign of attacks. She criticized him for paying too much attention to foreign policy and not enough attention to domestic issues like inflation and healthcare. Despite the harsh words, Greene says she's open to making peace, mentioning her Christian faith and her wish to forgive. This is a significant prediction of what may happen to the Republican Party. Until now, most of the right has been blindly loyal to Trump. There's been rarely such a blatant display of abandonment as MJT just did. The cracks are forming, and Trump knows it. He just conceded the Epstein files after realizing most of his party was against him and supported releasing the files. But we'll get to all that later. So MAGA has finally been destabilized. It's been so solidly together for over a decade, and it finally looks like the end is near for Trump's influence. But here's my question. Is this the end of MAGA? When Trump leaves office, I would say if Trump leaves office, but we're going to be optimistic. When Trump leaves office in 2028, is that really the end of his tenure? Look at the blind armies that are so loyal to Trump that they overlook every single thing he's done up until now. Marjorie Taylor Greene, she about-faced over a serious issue, but there are still thousands, if not millions, that are still loyal to Trump. So it only takes one of them to take the reins of the MAGA movement and continue Trump's legacy, 2028, whatever they'll do onwards. The most recent fight over the Epstein files. It's about Congress pushing the DOJ to release every unclassified record linked to Jeffrey Epstein, including flight logs, communications, and investigative files. Lawmakers passed the Epstein Files Transparency Act, great name, with rare bipartisan support thanks to pressure from survivors and a small group in Congress, which was actually led by Marjorie Taylor Greene. She took the lead by calling for full disclosure and saying the public has a right to know every single name and every single detail. Obviously, Trump opposed the release, but he later changed his mind and supported it under significant political pressure from his own people. Greene says this reversal hurt his credibility, and survivors and some lawmakers still question whether or not Trump is sincere. Marjorie Taylor Greene, having a field day, also says the issue has divided the MAGA movement and led to more threats against her. But in the end, the fight is no longer just about Epstein. It's about revealing the names of powerful people, and has become a significant political risk for anyone who might be even mentioned in the files. So this is a lot to unpack. Let's take it step by step. First, Greene said the reversal hurt Trump's credibility. Did he even have any to begin with? His policies have flip-flopped so much that I don't think he knows what he stands for. And we all know he's going to be in those files. Why else would he be so vehemently against releasing them? And we know all of this already. We know that many prominent figures like Lawrence Summers of Harvard and Bill Clinton will be in those files, and who knows what they did. But this is also an opportunity to unite the right and the left. Everybody hates pedophiles. I think that's a fact. So let's hate the people in those files who committed those heinous crimes together. It can be the first bridge in a very long journey that could depolarize the country and bring politics back to what it used to be. Prince Mohammed bin Salman visited Washington on November 18th for a major meeting with President Trump. This was his first trip to the White House since 2018, according to the Saudi government. The goal is to reach a new strategic partnership with the U.S. to boost cooperation in defense, technology, infrastructure, and critical minerals. And one of the biggest announcements was that Trump confirmed that the U.S. will sell Saudi Arabia F-35 stealth fighter jets. This would dramatically strengthen Saudi military capabilities, and the reporting talked about 48 of them. These two countries are also working towards strengthening their defense relationship. Trump designated Saudi Arabia as a major non-NATO ally, which is a significant move in military cooperation. On the economic side, MBS has promised significant investments. Reports suggest up to $1 trillion to be directed to areas such as AI, infrastructure, energy, and technology. Politically, Trump suggested that Saudi Arabia could join the Abraham Accords to normalize relations with Israel, which is an idea he's strongly supported. But this is a very sensitive issue because Saudi leaders say there must be progress towards a Palestinian statehood first. So the visit also brought renewed attention to MBS's role in the 2018 killing of journalist Jamal Khashoggi. Reporters asked direct questions about the case as was only fair, but Trump responded in his typical way, saying it was not appropriate to embarrass our guest. At the same time, Khashoggi's widow has continued to call for accountability. So first of all, American first. Didn't Trump run on that? Wasn't that his whole campaign? Didn't he say it would be like an isolationist country? And then he actually did go about executing U.S. aid and half the State Department. Now, we're suddenly inviting foreign criminals to sit at the White House? I know how strategically important Saudi Arabia is. I also know how much money they have. But do you remember exactly what happened to the journalist in 2018? If you don't, let me refresh your memory. Story time. In 2018, Washington Post journalist Jamal Khashoggi was murdered at the Saudi consulate in Istanbul. He was then dismembered, and the Saudis denied involvement in his death for weeks afterward. Remember, this happened in a Saudi consulate. Eventually, in a controversial case, several individuals were tried and some were sentenced to death. But our own CIA, the American CIA, concluded the Crown Prince likely approved the murder just because Khashoggi was openly critical of him. So this is who Trump graces the White House with, a man who would kill his own critics and cover up his involvement. It seems like Trump might have a type. Moving on to the Tufts angle. This is the new segment we're implementing to leverage the privilege of being at Tufts University to share our opinions informed by some of the brightest scholars in politics and international relations. So Tufts is a very liberal school. And as such, I think you know what most students will think about the issues at hand. And honestly, I agree with most of the perspectives. I mean, there isn't much to disagree on. First, we have a pedophile whose files are bringing other pedophiles to justice. We can all agree that's a good thing. And it's also just funny to see Trump and Marjorie Taylor Greene spat. I mean, MAGA has been so solid in the face of the rest of the country that this break is just such a surprise, it's comical. And the Saudi situation, it's a little less known. Only those who are especially educated in this stuff or have watched the news over the last decade would really understand my anger towards it. However, the tough stance is nonetheless predictable. If our own government's intelligence agencies, which tough students have in fact protested in the past, but if the CIA concluded that the prince ordered the killing, it would really only take an ignorant person not to believe that. Lucky us, that's exactly who we have in office. And if Trump gets another $400 million plane, I might just have to start the criminal inquiry myself. That's the news for this week. I'm Peter Loud, and this has been The Global Desk. Thank you for being with us, and happy Thanksgiving. We'll see you soon.